Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Raffi Bilek. He has been working with couples across the globe for over a decade. He has helped hundreds of couples improve their communication, boost their connection, recover from hurts and betrayals, and in many cases, save their marriages. Before that, Raffi earned a degree in computer science from Brown University, but never much enjoyed it because the computers wouldn't laugh at his humor. I love that. Besides being a couples counselor and a computer programmer, Raffi is a dad to 4 girls, a former swing dancer, an Orthodox Jewish rabbi, and a national ranked Scrabble player. Raffi, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you? That's some bio.
Thanks for having me. It is a little eclectic, I guess. It's a little eclectic.
So tell us about your journey. So you were a former swing dancer, a rabbi, a Scrabble player. How did you make the jump to like coaching and helping couples? What was that like?
It's a great
What was
question. So in college, I was a computer science major, as I mentioned, and
Yeah.
it just wasn't that awesome, man. It's kind of lonely. And the year after college, I took a job teaching kids computers, and I was like, wow, I could actually have a job of talking to people instead of having that be the break between my jobs. And that was much better. And so I kind of pivoted to human services. Um, and I was off studying, doing some religious studies for a while, and then I got a social work degree and just started sort of meeting with all kinds of clients. And I realized that what I really love doing and what I'm best at doing is working with couples and relationships. And I just think it's so important. I mean, relationships really are what make people happy more than anything. And so helping people get their relationships dialed in, I think, is really meaningful to me.
No, I agree. And today's topic is a good one: having great communication with your partner, Rafi. And I'm noticing lately, whether I'm reading an article or seeing other podcasters, it seems that the communication is breaking down. And I'm talking about verbal communication. Everything seems through text and online. Are we losing that ability to communicate with each other because of social media and apps?
It's so much easier and so much less risky to send someone a DM or a text message or something. So we get used to doing that, and it's convenient and it's quick, and you get to put an emoji. But you lose something in terms of being able to actually talk to people and to be open, to be vulnerable. I mean, I have so many clients that tell me about the fights they have over text, and things go so badly because it's so easy to misinterpret, you don't hear any tone, you don't hear any inflection, and you think you get it, and it's just a disaster. I tell people you cannot discuss important matters by text. You got to be face to face.
I agree 100%. I was talking to somebody about this. And when you talk to somebody on the phone, you can hear their voice. Like you said, you can hear whether they're happy, they're angry, they're sad, whatever. I've known people that have two or three different voices when they're sad, when they're happy, when they're pissed off. I can't tell that through a text unless they put it in capital letters. And even then, I'm like,
Even yeah, you
yeah.
think someone's being sarcastic when they're not being sarcastic. You misinterpret. It's so easy and so classic, and it's just not. I mean, it's not the same thing as face to face, human to human communication.
So how do we get back to that though? Is it one of the couples needs to do it, or both have to agree to do it? Because again, it's just I'm not. I hate texting. I just want to talk to somebody, but it seems because of the way the situation is now, people don't trust each other, and so they rather through text, and that's either through an app or Instagram.
I think texting is fine. If you want to send your partner a message, don't forget the dry cleaning. Like, super, that's
Yes.
great. But if there's some kind of important topic or emotional content, it's not the way to go. And I think that what will help people be able to pull back from that is giving them the skills to actually have a conversation. It's easier if you're mad at your partner, to send them a text when they're at work, what the hell was that? Instead of waiting until they get home and having a tough conversation. But I think if people had the skills to have difficult conversations, they'd be less scared of it, and they wouldn't try to foist it off onto their phones where you keep it at arm's length and it's not so hard to do.
So when you coaching a couple, right, and it seems that one it does like to communicate, and one just keeps their feelings in. Again, how do you manage that? When someone just keeps all their feelings, their vulnerability in, but the other person is willing to share. Can that type of relationship last?
I think that any relationship where one or both partners doesn't want to share who they are isn't much of a relationship. I
Mm.
mean, my wife likes me not because I can pick up the dry cleaning, but because I have some useful, some nice characteristics about me and who I am, and she cares about who I am, and I care about who she is and how she sees the world and what she experiences. So, to the extent that we keep our partners away from that part of ourselves, the relationship only goes so deep. And yeah, people can have relationships that work okay that aren't that deep, but the good stuff is when you get in there and you let someone in and you let them know what the world means to you and what hurts you and what feels good, and there's an openness and a connection. That's what people get into relationships for. You can get anybody to pick up the dry cleaning.
100%. So do we develop that trust over time to be, to tell our partner what's bothering us, what we like, what we don't like?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't want to walk into the bar and be like, "Hi, I want to tell you about my relationship with my mother." Like that's probably not, it's socially unacceptable. But over time, you hope that you do build a trust with a partner. And again, I think that communication skills are important because usually people, when they get into difficult topics that involve each other in the relationship, things blow up, things get difficult, they don't get resolved, and so people are reluctant and they don't trust their partner with the deepest parts of themselves. And if people could learn how to have these conversations, how to deal with the issues in a way that works for them and leaves them feeling connected, they'd be a lot more willing to share what's inside them. I don't blame people for not wanting to do that when it's going to lead to a blow up.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because I've been again reading and seeing other podcasters about this, and it seems that it's always maybe a trust issue, especially if you had a bad relationship prior to you guys getting together. Now you don't want to open up because sometimes the word I'm getting is if a man opens up to a woman, there there might be times where she throws it back in his face. I know I have that done to me a couple of times, and it's not a pleasant thing. So then all of a sudden now I'm
I don't
letting
want to.
I'm letting in, or I just say enough to keep her intrigued somewhat, but keep all the private stuff or anything that's bothering me, and talk to my fellow guys and tell them what I'm feeling. Are you seeing that too, or is that? Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a common thing where people don't want to share if it's not going to go well. Why would I tell you what's bothering me if it's going to get thrown back in my face, if it's going to get ignored, if it's going to get mocked? Of course, right? There has to be a process where I can tell you, hey, this is what's going on for me, and for you to hear that and not get defensive and not get obnoxious. And it's not easy necessarily. The
Yeah.
principles of good communication, they're not complicated, but they're not easy because I always want to feel like I'm right. And I always want to prove to you my point. And I'm upset at you and I want to tell you right now. And there's things you can do that are hard, like waiting to talk about something that bothers you. It's hard. I feel like I want to tell you right now what a big fat jerk you are. But if I
Mhm.
run into that, then I'm going to be saying all these nasty things that I don't necessarily mean. Whereas if I go to sleep and I wake up in the morning, I can tell you much more calmly, you know what, this really bothered me. So I think
Mm.
there are things that are hard to accomplish that you have to work on yourself to say, you know what, I will wait, or you know what, let me hear my partner out before I respond. And it takes some emotional labor, but it's not complicated. It's not like you have to. It's not rocket science. You just need someone to guide you through, or to somewhere to learn the way that it works, and it's doable.
So how do you coach someone to do that, to communicate effectively? Because that's always seemed the case, right? Women always say, "Oh, I want a man that communicates," and men say, "Well, women don't communicate; they communicate in code." So how do you put those two together to make it work?
Right. I mean, it really helps when I can be in the room with them and sort of help them express what is going on, making sure we do it one person at a time. Often what happens is both people want to get their opinion across. And so that becomes an argument pretty quickly. Because if I'm trying to tell you what the reality is and you're trying to tell me what the reality is and they're not the same thing, it's like it's a problem. But if we can slow things down and I say, okay, you know what? I'm going to say things first and you're just going to listen to me. And then we'll switch. And we're not trying to reconcile what actually happened. I just want you to understand how I'm feeling about this and why this bothers me. And then we can switch and you can tell me what bothers you about the situation. And we may not see the situation the same. And if we start to argue about what actually happened, it's a waste of our time. But if I care about you and you care about me, we're in a much better place.
And well, I think that's the main thing, right? Is that two people do care about each other. But Robbie, I want to the main thing that I notice again is when there is a lack of communication, or people are mad at each other. Now the buzzword of the day, narcissist. Oh, he's a narcissist, or she's a narcissist, and all that. Have you been seeing that too, or hearing that? It
Yeah,
seems like that's the
narcissism is a
buzzword.
big buzzword now. And it's kind of used as like this put down, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy's a narcissist. And I don't think it's often accurately used, right? Just because somebody is selfish doesn't mean they have clinical narcissism. Yeah, you could use narcissist in a colloquial way, like, oh, being narcissistic and being selfish, kind of the same. But there is a disorder called narcissistic personality disorder, where
Mm,
somebody sort of pathologically does not think about other people and only wants things their way. And everybody in a
mm.
fight with their partner thinks their partner has that. And I'll tell you, it's not that common to actually have that mental disorder. There are
Yeah.
people who are selfish. Yes, we're all selfish to a degree. Some people more, some people less. We all think that we're right and other people are wrong. Some people more, some people less. Labeling somebody as a narcissistic person probably does not make it likely for things to get better.
Right. So okay, so if that was the situation where someone calls another person, the N word, so to speak, is that something that could be worked on though? I mean, if that person, but if you're at the end of that word thrown at you, now you're defending yourself. Now you're throwing shots back at the other
Right.
person. Yeah, so go ahead, Ralphie. I
It's
could
very
see that.
inflammatory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if I insult you, you are going to defend yourself, right? I tell my clients if I talk about you, I'm inviting you to defend yourself. If I
Right.
talk about me, I'm inviting you to care about me. So what does that sound like? If I don't like the fact that you picked yourself up a coffee and you didn't think about calling me to ask if I want one, I can say you're such a narcissist. You never think about anybody else. You never think about me. In which case, I've invited you to argue with me because you're going to say, "Of course I do. What are you talking about? I always do that." Not helpful. But if I say, you know what, well, you went and you picked up a coffee and you didn't pick one up for me, and I feel kind of left out. So now I'm inviting you to say, you know what, Ralph, I can see that kind of sucks. I'm sorry you had that experience. Now, you may not have even known that I was around. You thought I was out of town. You thought I don't like coffee. There's all kinds of reasons that might make sense. But you're not on
Right.
the hook to defend yourself because I'm not telling you about you. I'm telling you about me. I'm feeling sad.
Mm.
And if you can hear that I'm feeling sad and lonely and left out, now we're connected over this incident instead of arguing about who's a narcissist.
Right. So then the next time when I get a coffee, I'm gonna make sure I call you, or I make sure I
Right.
just bring you one. Yeah, go ahead.
And you're going to do it not because you're afraid of getting in trouble. That does not elicit much change. Change
Right.
does not come from people being afraid. That you can get behavioral change, but as soon as they stop being afraid, it falls back. Change comes from empathy, right? If you
Mm.
worry, if you care that I'm going to be left out, you say, "Oh my gosh, he felt left out. I don't want Rafi to feel left out." And if it really bothers you that I'm having this pain, then yeah, next time you show up at Starbucks, you're going to say, "Wow, I better remember. I don't want Rafi to feel bad again." Empathy will get us a lot farther in getting the relationship to shift than punishment, yelling, fear.
Right. So is there a way for, you working with couples or married couple, whatever it may be, and again, going back to where somebody is not that communicative compared to the other person, are there steps that that person that doesn't like to really air out their feelings, can they work on a few things to start airing their feelings, or not even the feelings, but whatever might be bothering them? If my question made any sense at all?
Yeah, sure, right? If this guy isn't used to sharing his feelings or doesn't feel comfortable, we start slowly. We say, okay, what might happen if you share your feelings? Why don't you want to? What's going on? We can talk about that. And we just a little bit open the door, and he says, well, I'm just not used to it. It's uncomfortable. Well, what's uncomfortable about it? Well, it feels kind of weird. Okay, fine. So let's let his partner understand that you feel kind of uncomfortable and weird about sharing your feelings. I understand that. It's tough to share your feelings. So now we've already built one experience where he said something about himself and it was well received and it made a difference. And then afterwards, she'll say, I really appreciate you're trying to open up and share with me. So he says, dang, I could do that if if that makes a difference to her, that wasn't so bad.
All
So we
right.
start opening the door a little bit instead of saying, could you tell me about how you feel about your mother? Or, tell me your deepest, darkest secrets. Just say a little bit like, hey, what's it like thinking about this? Or how do you feel about your work? Or whatever it might be. We open the door a little bit and provide a positive experience, and then we can build off of that.
Is another buzzword I've been hearing, Rafi, is being vulnerable, where men don't want to be vulnerable to the woman, like we talked earlier, because of the fact that it might be thrown in their faces.
Yeah.
So if a man feels a certain way because he's upset, or something happened, now do you communicate that with a buddy of yours, or do if or because, like you just mentioned, hey, what's bothering you? Why don't you want to share with your partner, the vulnerable side? Because they're saying that now women might see that as weakness. Uh, What do you say when it comes to that particular? Another buzzword is being vulnerable.
I mean, I'm not a woman, and I have not spoken to most women, but I think many women that I've encountered want to know what's going on inside their partner's world. Right?
Right.
Again, that's why we got into a relationship. I want to know you. I want to know who you are. I want to share in your life. If
Yeah.
something's bothering you and you don't tell me, how do I know? If you keep it bottled inside and you walk around quietly and are upset, we're not really connected. Being vulnerable means I will take the risk of sharing my feelings with you. And there's a risk because you might throw it back in my face, you might put me
Right.
down, you might see me as weak. But again, if we open the door a crack, we say, what, I'm nervous to talk to you about this. I'm worried you'll throw it in my face. And you
Right.
can say back, what, I get why you're worried. That makes sense to me. So now there's a connection there, and you have the experience of trust that if I tell you something about me, you won't throw it back at me. Yeah, you know what? If I tell you that I'm afraid of chickens, and you throw that in my face and make fun of me with chickens afterwards, I'm not going to share things with you. So
Right.
for a woman who complains that her man is not open and vulnerable, but then when he is, she kind of makes a problem of it. Yeah, you kind of make that in your relationship.
Yeah, no, I like I said, depending on the person, I've shared many, vulnerable situations with a lot of my female friends and never thrown in my face or anything like that, because like you say, you develop a relationship, you develop trust and everything that I can open up. And I think in this day and age, especially the millennials, it seems like, both sides are holding back or nobody wants to open up. I just see it such a difference in dating now than it was 20, 25 years ago. Well, first of all, Rafi, I want to thank you so much for being on People on Dating. And before I let you go, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to promote? Any upcoming tours, books, TEDx talk?
Yeah, I wish I was going on tour. I got 4 kids at home, man. I'm busy. I did publish a book recently. It's called The Couples Communication Handbook: The Skills You Never Learned for the Marriage You Always Wanted. And a lot of the stuff that I've been alluding to here is laid out very clearly in the book. A lot of good rules and explanations for communication. I think it helps a lot of people. So you can pick that up. It's on Amazon. If you go to thecommunicationbook.com, the first 2 chapters are there for free, an ebook, an audiobook. So if you like listening to me talk, you got 7 hours and 29 minutes of me talking on the audiobook. Yeah, and people can reach out to me there if they need further help. I'm always happy to help couples in need and try to patch up those relationships.
And if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, any website,
Yeah,
and yeah,
thecommunicationbook.com is the way to go. You can email me from there, and I'm happy to help.
yeah, I'll definitely put that on the show notes. And before I let you go, any last word?
I would tell you the one thing that I want people to walk away from, walk away with, even if they get nothing else from the book, talk about it later. We talked about this briefly before, you and I, Will. Just like,
Yeah.
don't run into the problem. If your husband comes back and he forgot the dry cleaning, your wife burned the chicken, whatever it is, that's not the time to talk about it. So many fights would be avoided if we just waited 10 minutes, an hour, a day, and you come back to it later and you're in a
Yeah.
calm place to talk about it. So the one major rule of communication before any of those skills come in, talk about it later.
No, sounds good. Well, again, Rafi, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on People on Dating. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye bye.